It's me. It's your friend Josh, here with Houston and Randy, your friendly field research team, 40 in Tennessee. Welcome to episode 5. We're going to talk about some forbidden archaeology. We had a little story time session before recording some very old friend stories that are just
I'm putting Josh on full screen so I can't look at it.
But we're hoping to have a good laugh about some archaeology today. So hopefully you enjoy this. We're gonna talk about some weird things that we have come across in our field research. Like I've said in past episodes, as the more you do this, the more weird shit starts popping up, and you have to we're already looking for the wild man, so of course we're gonna go look at Yunduitsuni and all that crazy stuff. But this one I was kind of not expecting, and has been coming up a lot more in the mainstream, with Graham Hancock's Netflix special. Was it Ancient Apocalypse?
Yeah.
They just had season 2. But
have you seen season 2 yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen season 2 yet.
Yeah, it freaks me out. It kind of really freaks me out. He definitely I listened to him on some other podcasts right when the season came out. That's how I knew the new season was out. I was like, oh, he's on some podcast. I was listening to him and he was promoting it. So I sat down and locked in for, a few episodes a night to get through it. It's the amount of evidence he presents from past archaeology finds and stuff. He did a whole episode on or at least 2 episodes on the Olmecs, the Easter Island heads, and when he just kind of starts laying out just the scope of time, because the Easter Island heads are not just heads. There's full bodies attached.
Yeah.
That go all the way down, and when he's if these were built here, and how long that would take for that to get built up, all that soil and stuff to get built up, or what would cause so much buildup. So the way he lays it all out, it gets kind of freaky. It can get kind of freaky when you start thinking about it and you really soak in what he's trying to tell you.
Did you like that second season as much as the first? Because I feel like it kind of drug a little bit. I actually had to end up just skimming through the second season a little bit because it was just kind of dull to me. But I think it was his last book that it talks about all the Americas. His last book was just about, and I read all of that, so maybe that's what made me just not care as much. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was anything as new and groundbreaking as the first season, where it's whoa.
Well, no, I get what you mean. I think he just laid it out he kind of he redid how he wanted to present it all, how he did in the first one versus how he did it in the second one. He tried to really get in more nitty gritty details, trying to prove that point a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't as flashy. It wasn't as stunning as the first season, but this one was really more about him trying to get into I think really just facts, and trying to really prove his theory of just looking into all the myths and folklore to figure out our past. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Is as we've looked for the Tennessee wild man, we have kind of stumbled into some archaeology. We had to kind of start looking into archaeology just because it was there, honestly. It just kind of started showing up.
Yeah, one of our primary active areas is basically right next to a mound site. So
let's. What are like some of the like controversial like archaeological finds here in Tennessee? Like, what are some that like have kind of been announced but then really hushed up? Like, is there anything like that?
Well, one thing that's kind of unique to our area here in Warren County, they found several sets of they were wrapped in leather, but there were several sets of chert flint blades. They were about as long as machete blades, um, which is something you don't really think about. You know, when you think of like Native Americans, you don't think
Yeah.
of them walking around with freaking stone swords.
Yeah.
But apparently, some of them around here, this area did. It's one of the one of the few places that they've ever found things like that is here in this county.
Would you consider that hush hush, or is that just something? I guess
It's
just a
very
little.
unheard of. I mean, people don't really hear about it very much,
Yeah,
unless you know the right people to talk to.
I
Um,
remember some of the. What did you call them with the gravestones that are kind of like come to a point?
the witch graves.
Yeah, like I didn't know that that was just like local to our region either. Like I've seen them growing up.
Yeah.
I can get a picture of one of those, but I did not know that that was just something
Yeah.
that kind of happened around Appalachia.
Yeah. You want to talk about that? I'm. Yeah. That's what is that? What is that? Witch stones?
Witch graves.
Yeah, witch graves. What are you talking about here?
Let's see if Houston can find a picture. This
Yeah,
should be easy. Yeah.
I'm getting it.
And they're only in the like Appalachian areas?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they're called witch graves. I'm not sure exactly why they're called witch graves. Uh, it's just a style of, for mine at least my understanding of it, it's just a style of the burial that's only really done in Appalachia and specific parts of Appalachia, like in this area, going over into North Carolina, up into West Virginia. But that's about it. You don't really hear about these kind of graves in any other areas.
I was saying that it prevents from the ground sinking. Like
Yeah, this
cemetery.
is in our local Facebook group, just exploring Tennessee is where I found this.
Hmm. An Appalachian
So,
burial method from the early to mid 1800s. They would build tent-like stone structures on top of the plot to prevent ground sinking when the wood caskets collapsed. Animals and deter grave robbers. Uh, huh. Okay. Well, sinkholes are a big thing in in your area, so
Oh yeah, is that the effigy that was found on Cardwell?
yeah, you may bring that up.
Yeah, put that up there real quick.
let's talk about that. Did you guys find this? Who found this? Can we talk about who found this?
This one is in the State Museum in Nashville.
This is the one that they found in the mound, right?
Yes. Supposed to be one of two, I believe.
They're about what, 2 feet tall?
I don't recall. 18 inches maybe.
Okay. But supposedly they found two of these facing one another, kind of in the middle of the mound. The mound was excavated back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. His mound was up on Cardwell.
Yeah, it's on the main mound site there. That's right next to one of our research areas.
Gotcha.
Let me see.
Where we took you and Lauren hiking.
Yep.
It's about as the crow flies, it's probably about a mile and a quarter. The mound side is from there.
Oh, okay. And when we went, which I wasn't prepared for, like seeing the stacked rocks, I guess is the best way to say it.
Oh,
But
the monolith. Yeah.
yeah, the monolith, but it's like I say rocks, it's boulders stacked on top of each other, and it's just like, how the hell has that been up there? Until you see it and you're next to it, you're like, oh, that's super weird.
I don't have any pictures of that, but I do think I have just like some drone footage. I don't know if I can get that out. So that's actually from the book there. I don't know if that's that actually looks a little bit different than the one we just saw. So that may be in the second one.
All right. And they found those in the burial mound. So over on Cardwell, then there's a site. They have a site then. What else is like
the
over
mound
there?
site? The main mound site is, I think, 32 acres total, and the Tennessee state government bought it about, what was it, 2 years ago, probably, Houston, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around in there.
Like 2-3 years ago. And they've now got it not roped off, but they've got it.
They've got the ribbons.
Secured.
They've got it.
Yeah, they've got it secure now where they don't want you to go up there and mess around with stuff. We actually got kicked off the site earlier this year.
Now, what is up there? What's there? What do you guys know that's there?
On the mound site, there's 3 mounds, or the remnants of 3 mounds. One of which is really the only one you can really see very well.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 have been ground kind of down into the dirt. But there is a very large stone called the Map Stone of the Ancients that there's theories as to what it is. Some of the theories are that it was to help make arrows. Do you got a picture of the Map Stone, Houston?
Yeah, I got that.
There she is.
And you see that big chunk that's ripped out of it?
You want to zoom in on that? Can you zoom in? Fill up the screen with it. Oh, wow.
So, yeah, everyone has told us that it used to be bigger. We do not have any pictures where it was originally, the size of it. And I think the latest, or I guess the earliest pictures that we would have would be in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been apparently, broken off since then.
Yeah. We were told by the ranger when he kicked us off the site this last time that the state thinks they know who has it. The chunk that's broken off.
Oh, really?
They're hoping to recover it.
Yeah, we took these. I don't know. It's probably been about 4 or 5 years ago now, because we were actually here when the state pulled up on us the last time, and they were like, yeah, make sure you're not taking any more pictures." So yeah, this one was actually before the state bought it.
Yeah.
So Randy, say more. What was it that they said the stone was? It was the Map Stone of the Ancients. What was it?
Map Stone of the Ancients.
What
is
do
what
they
it's
think
called.
it was more? What do they believe it was for?
Some people think that it's, some archaeologists think that it's it was to help basically make tools like arrows, which really doesn't make any sense in this instance, because the curves, you saw the curves, the big line curves.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work for what they're suggesting. Others think that it's some sort of map. Well, a map, obviously. Some think it's a star map. Some think it's a solstice map. The archaeologist that we pal around with, Darby thinks it's a solstice map of some sort. But it really depends on the archaeologist on what they really think that map or what that stone really represents. But it's suggested to be 7,000 years plus in age, is what we were told.
Okay.
Which you put in the Archaic period, which is way before woodland Indians.
Yeah. So that would, there shouldn't be anyone there, right?
An interesting thing about it too is, and the archaeologists really don't talk about this part, is that stone is right in front of a cave entrance. That cave, so Darby told us, goes back quite a ways and kind of curves back up under the plateau there, where the mountainside is.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been back up in that cave. Catman's been a little ways back up in that cave.
How big is it now? Like, is it like a crawl space?
You'd have to take a lot of sediment out to keep going back farther. Catman went back about as far as humanly possible. But he did say if he was to, scrape sediment out, you could keep going.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's important to note too. We keep mentioning Darby. Darby is the one that actually was with MTSU when they excavated this back in the '90s. So, like, he was the licensed archaeologist at this site,
Yeah.
and we just happened to be friends with him. So
Yeah.
we found that out later. It's like, oh, he kept telling me for years. He's like, "Oh, I need to take you to this place, but it's way on up there. We would have to, spend a couple of days, probably to just pack and get ready for this thing. It's easy to get lost." And yeah, come to find out, we were already up on the mountain. We just didn't know exactly where it was until Darby took us to this. It's like, oh, okay.
That's cool. And do they have plans to like continue? Are they doing anything with it? Do we know?
The state is going to turn it into an archaeological park. So, or at least that's the plan. And they
Yeah.
bought 150 acres total, and it's basically from where we took you and Lauren up there at the top.
Yeah.
The top is all part of owned by the state now, and then basically the north side of the mountain going down to the mountain side is all owned by the state. So the majority of the mountain is owned by the state, and my understanding is the state is actually wanting to buy the entire mountain eventually, if they can get it out of private hands.
Because, I mean, I think the theory is that there's more up there than just that location.
Yes, that's the theory
probably
that
the
the
whole
state
mountain.
has. That there's stuff all over the place up there. There's those walls that are up there that they have no idea who built the walls. We've been to those.
Talk about
several
those.
times.
Let's describe them. Talk about them.
They look like if you're not on top of them, and keep in mind, like, I don't want to make anybody think that we were up there damaging them. That was not our intention. That we never did anything like that. But the
Again,
way
we,
these
we
walls,
only found them because of Darby. Darby studied them back
yeah,
in the '90s, and he took us to them. So
yeah, and so we went up on top of them to measure them out to see how long they were. They were, one of them was what, 200 and something feet long.
I don't remember. I know that I have like the pinpoints on my Google Earth or whatever, where like I was pinging it while we was walking.
Yeah.
To get like
And it was wild because Darby was like, if these are walls, and I don't remember what the term is, but he's like, there will be this feature where it's basically so the walls can drainage for the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And just like he described, right about every 30 feet of this wall, there was one of those features where it was draining. But it looked as if this wall was like had terraced, excuse me, had terraced the hill. Like on top of this wall it was just flat. And if you can't really tell it's a wall unless you get out, you come off of it and you turn around and look at it, and it looks like a big flat hill.
And he was also saying, I think we talked about this in the first episode, where there's a place down in Georgia that has very similar structures, but I just can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I can't remember
It's
the name
like
of it either.
it's
a state park.
State line.
Yeah. But that one down in Georgia, the Cherokee say that the little people helped build those walls on the mountain. Yeah.
Really?
And we've got a mountain that's got walls, and we've got little people, stories and sightings and everything else around here. So it makes you wonder.
There's the Yunduitsuni kingdom under the mountain.
Right.
That's all I'm thinking about now.
But back to the map zone, I do think that there was some people that suggested that there was like some of the more prominent lines followed some rivers around here, but I've never seen any evidence of that.
And you're saying that what they're thinking that map stone is 7,000 years old?
That was one of the things that we got told, yeah.
And
at least 7,000 years old is what we were told.
There shouldn't be anybody in that area at that time, right? No people.
I mean, there would be, but it would be archaic, and it would be like, from what we're supposedly, believe is hunter-gatherer. And, every archaeologist we've talked to basically, doesn't think that makes any sense. There's so much stuff up on that mountain that doesn't make any sense. That's the thing is those walls where they are don't make any sense. The monolith being up there stacked on top of, literally at the very, very top of the mountain, where I don't even know how you would even know how you could tell back in those days where the precipice of the mountain is
Mm.
to put something like that. But for it to be exactly at the very top of the mountain where it is, like you said, stacked stones. How tall is that thing? What, 25 feet probably?
Mm.
The walls are 25 feet tall.
No, the monolith that you
Oh,
guys.
the monolith itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing's huge.
I
Yeah,
would say probably more than that, but yeah.
25, maybe 30 feet.
yeah. It's big. There it is. It's all stacked.
Yeah.
You can tell the layers too. And being there, actually seeing it, you're like, oh, these are individual pieces that have been fucking laid down on top of each other.
Yeah, and I mean, this is it's at the peak of the mountain. There's nothing else around it that favors this. I mean, it's just kind of like hanging out by itself there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, it looks like it has like a shrine type like look to it. Like if you look at, this was the back end we're looking at right now, right? Oh, there you go. You got the 3D flyby. Like
Yeah,
it has like
that right there is why
it has that like ceremonial look. Look at it now. Now you start to see this son of a bitch. Look at this thing. Yeah, it like you get the stonework foundation underneath and stuff.
I'll see what else I got.
And some rituals done up there.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some once upon a
magic.
time. That kind of gives the shape of why Ben, our friend Ben, calls it the Sphinx of Cardwell. It kind of looks like the Sphinx from the side a little bit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be all I have.
All right.
And
I may
on that mountain, talking about mysterious things.
Yes.
There have been rumors for decades. I mean, decades going back to the 30s. That there was a pyramid on the mountain somewhere that someone had built, and no one knew who built this pyramid. And so, what's wild is like early on when we first started going up to Cardwell to research up there, we got approached by a gentleman named Tank who used to live at the bottom of Cardwell there next to Cumberland Caverns. And Tank actually, Hank, I should say, approached us and was like, "You guys going to go look for the pyramid?" And we're like, "What pyramid are you talking about?" And he's like, "The pyramid up there."
Too, right? You guys were just going up, and he brought it up.
He brought it up.
This is what we say. It's like we're going out here to look for Bigfoot. And it's like, oh, you going to see the pyramid? We're like, what?
We go out looking for Bigfoot, and people bring us so many other things.
And so, he said no one knew where the pyramid was anymore these days, but it was somewhere up on the mountain. Now, this was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess. Me and Houston and Mark were driving a back road behind Cardwell Mountain, and there was this little old lady who's over there, and she's sweeping brush into a little fire in the middle of her yard. And Mark says, "We need to stop and talk to this little old lady." And we're like, "Why?" And it's like, "Well, because she looks like she's been up here a long time and she might know some stuff." So like we just pull in blindly on this little old lady, 3 big 6 foot tall, bigger gentlemen.
Look, guys,
jumping out of
we're
this
not
car.
Suggesting doing this, but
it's a good way to get shot, honestly.
Approach your elderly with respect.
That's where we have Mark. Mark's always, dressed up nice and stuff, and it's like we have snake boots on and combat boots, and Mark's like, "Go talk to them, man. I don't know. You're good at that."
Yeah. Mark's a real estate agent, so he's always dressed really nice. So anyhow, we go to talk to this little old lady, and long story short, we're like, we're local historians, and we're wondering if you had known any, of the local history. And she literally goes like this and starts like waving us to follow her. And so we follow her out to like a little ways out into her yard, and there's like this really old, rickety little apple tree that's sitting there. And at the base of this apple tree is a solitary gravestone, and the date on it is 1797. Gee. And she's like, that's my great grandfather. So she's like, yes, young man, I think I know something about the history of this area.
It's a bit dramatic.
So it was awesome. Yeah. So we spent like a good 15, 20 minutes talking to this little old lady out here in her yard. And at one point, I go, ma'am, I know this is going to sound crazy and out of left field, but have you ever heard of anybody saying that they knew about a pyramid being on the mountain? And this little old lady stops, completely serious, and she goes, well, yeah, I've seen it. And we're like, you've seen it? And she goes, yeah, I know exactly where it's at. How do you know where it's at? And she's like, well, my grandfather showed it to me when I was young. Okay, so do you mind if we ask where it is?
Where?
She straight up, dude, tells us. She goes, yeah, there's 2 caves. She goes, and she shows us, she points over to a nearby barn. And she's like, you go back behind that barn. There's a creek bottom. You follow that creek up the mountain, you'll find these 2 caves. It's in the left cave. And there's 2, she says, you can go up there, you can go down. And you go up in the upper part of the cave. And she goes, and there's the pyramid's about 90 feet back there. And we're like, okay, so
we gotta go.
Know where this pyramid is. How do you know about the pyramid? And she said, well, my grandfather showed it to me. And there was some scientists that came down back in the 30s and looked at it, told my granddaddy to not tell anybody about it, to leave it alone, because they didn't want anybody messing with it. And so she's like, and that's what my granddaddy did. We didn't talk about it. And so supposedly
Americana,
we know where this
baby.
We have a guy who gave us his cave maps of this entire region. He helped do an in the field coordinates for all these caves for the region. So we had the cave maps for that whole area, and where she said that there would be 2 caves on the cave maps, there are 2 caves. I'm not going to name the caves, but there are 2 caves exactly where she said there would be on that map. And one of those is called Blah Bi-Level Cave, which means there's an upper level and a lower level, exactly like she described. Now, what's wild is the lower level. I asked the guy that had the cave maps about this specific cave. I'm like, what's on the lower level of this cave? And he said, there's a creek in the bottom part of the cave, which would mean there's a creek flowing in the cave underneath the pyramid that's in the upper cave.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Just like there's a creek way up under the Great Pyramid that they claim creates ionized, all of that craziness is going on right there in those 2 caves. The same way that they claim that's, going on in the Great Pyramid.
So when are we going?
Right. What's wild is we've been really close to those caves, coming over the mountain, going over to those caves, because those caves aren't too far from where the walls are, actually.
Oh. Okay.
And we were actually over there at those caves near the caves one day, and heard what sounded like a woman talking just in the middle of the woods, but you couldn't make out what she was saying. It was garbled, and like multiple of us heard it. And what's hilarious, one of them being Darby, the archaeologist, was with us, and Darby was like, I'm like, did you hear that, Darby? And Darby's like, yeah, I heard it. What the hell was that, Darby? Well, it was obviously an archaeologist that's up here looking for the caves or looking for the walls. And we're like, an archaeologist. We're like an archaeologist. He's like, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. First off, his first explanation was it was an echo coming up the hillside, and we're like, sure, Darby, it's an echo. And he's like, well, no, okay, it was probably an archaeologist, and it's one of the archaeologists for the state up here looking for the walls. So I go, okay, hey, and I just scream out, hey, can you hear us? Are you out here? Nothing. The woods just go quiet. So we never got any kind of explanation for what the hell was making up there, making female gobbledygook. But it was very close to those caves.
Yeah, we gotta go check that out. We gotta go in the caves. I don't like going in the caves.
No, we don't either.
I don't like going in the caves at all.
Well, the way she described it, the caves are big enough that you can walk in them pretty much.
Just walk right in.
So
imagine going in there and seeing the fucking pyramid and just being like,
supposedly, she said it was about 7 feet tall, the pyramid. And she said it's at the back of a room. You go to the back of this room and it's just sitting back there. And she said it's very obviously somebody made it. So.
See, this is the stuff I care about. Like, I don't have to see Bigfoot. I have to see this archaeological stuff.
But that's the other thing is like, I'm like, well, this is really interesting. This thing can't run away. We just have to go find it. You know, we just have to find that cave entrance.
Yeah.
I want to see it. Didn't she mention that like she would, and when she was brought up there as a kid, she was like, oh, we'd slide on it?
I don't remember.
I thought she would remember that in the story that she used to play on it or something like that. Her granddaddy would bring her up there and her and her brother would play on it. They would slide on it. Watch it be like, you know how they're talking about, you know, the pyramids might have been like a energy source or like a reactor or something like that. Imagine if it's just us fucking tourists going around like an old reactor site, just it's like
Right.
yeah, it's on an old nuclear site. We're just like, oh.
And the cave isn't very far, really, from the mound site.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, I'd say, maybe a half mile as the crow flies from the mound site where this pyramid would be.
Which makes sense. I mean, like if it was, you know, as big as the constructions of some of the like the walls and stuff, like there had to have been a lot of people. So there's, you know, this area probably spanned, you know, their city or whatever, their civilization that was there probably spanned like a good amount of distance around here. It was probably
there was definitely a lot of stuff up there on that mountain that they're just now, I think, getting kind of a clue about. We had one.
How much stuff got destroyed during like mining operations and stuff throughout the years, like, you know.
Yeah, not knowing what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, there was about 6 miles from Cardwell, there was a 21 mound site. They got completely razed to the ground except for one mound. Like they bulldozed every bit of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. All because they were afraid, the landowner was afraid that if he left the mounds there, the state would basically claim his land.
Oh, and take
which they can't do.
Oh.
So.
Dang.
Yeah, and we have really close to us, was it Stone Fort in Manchester?
Old Stone Fort.
Yeah, I mean, you can take tours there during the solstice and stuff. And I mean, they talk about how all of that stuff was set up as a calendar there. And I mean, that's just a county away. So, you know, you can't tell me that stuff's not here as well.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like that's whatever civilization was back there was pretty cool in some manners, and like just want to know who they were. You know what I mean? Like to see like the star chart, like that tab, you know, the carvings there is just like, what was that for? Was it like a map of the cave system? Was it a map of the area? You know, would it mark like, hey, you know, Greg's house is down this road?
Yeah. Didn't Darby say that they actually found they recovered a bunch of spear tips right there in front of the mapstone once?
I can't remember. I actually thought that I mean, he has found other stuff up there, but I thought right
Yeah.
there at that location he wasn't able to find anything at
No,
the
okay.
mapstone. But I could be wrong. We talk about all kinds of stuff.
So it's 7,000 years in this area. What's like the environment? Like, what's the flora and fauna at that time here? Do we know? Like,
It's mainly what we got now. That's past the ice age. So I mean, it's mainly the animals we got now. Except
is there any
you would have had
megafauna?
jaguar in this area still.
Hmm.
I mean, haven't y'all thought y'all seen a big cat out there before?
Oh yeah, Mark and me and Catman saw a juvenile mountain lion on that same mountain.
Oh, I thought y'all saw something bigger than that.
The state of Tennessee says there's no mountain lions, Randy. We
Nope.
It's the
No
great,
mountain lions.
the greatest cryptid of Tennessee is the Tennessee mountain lion.
Yep. It's the one everybody knows is here.
And they
But,
adamantly deny.
Speaking of, like, the one that really does creep me out is they talk about how big the catfish are down by the dam, where they said like those fish are as big as a car.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that from
Catzilla. Yeah.
like divers.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you do work at a dam, it gets really freaky down at the really bottoms of the dam because like the fish can just chill. Nothing like fucks with them down there, so they just get massive. Yeah, he said
I talked to a diver guy that actually claimed he saw a big catfish once, but he said it was about 6 foot long. But he was diving. It was when they were building the new bridge that goes into Rock Island State Park. There, back in the late 90s, I think that was.
Creepy stuff, man. Underwater scares me too. Caves, underwater.
We could do an episode on underwater stuff. We've gotten some fun ones there, especially in like Lovelock, Ohio.
Oh yeah.
So now, would there be any connection? Well, we don't have too much information on like the Tennessee pygmies that they, uncover like from that burial.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I doubt they'd ever be like, yeah, there's a connection, but like, was it them? Was this their stuff?
I don't know. The graves where they found those little pygmies.
Yeah.
Supposedly the bones were deteriorated enough that it gave the impression to the people that were basically like pulling the bodies out. This is in White County, Tennessee, or what was the edge of White County back then. That they were a couple hundred years old. That was the kind of
couple hundred.
Yeah, that they were already a couple hundred years old. So it honestly makes me feel like wonder if when smallpox and all that came raging through after the conquistadors came through the Americas, and smallpox, raged through and killed like 2/3 of most Native Americans. What if that's what killed them off too?
I mean, yeah.
Because they wouldn't have, and they wouldn't have had any kind of immunity to it, and that would have given them about that would have put it around that time period of potentially of the conquistadors coming through this region. We know they came through Tennessee.
Now that goes to with my theory of with like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Wildman is like, why do they avoid us? Is like, I have some feeling there's some like generational like shit that's like, yeah, no, we bring disease that kills us, kill them off that they can't fight, and it's like, when I hear those stories, that's when I'm like, well, maybe it's that, why do they avoid us? It's like, it's because we're gross. Like,
it could be.
We got viruses.
We've got cooties, man.
Yeah, we got the cooties, and the Squatch don't want it. The Yunduitsuni don't want it.
Yeah, the one that got close, man, he had like, scaly skin, and we put him in a circus cage.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Like, what was that movie? The man who killed Hitler and killed the Bigfoot,
and then killed the Bigfoot,
and then killed the Bigfoot, which is an incredible movie. I haven't seen it.
Sam Elliott, yeah.
Incredible movie. But like, wait, that one was Sasquatch had rabies or had like some weird virus. Do you remember the plot of that one? I'm spoiling.
I don't think
It's
I've
been a
seen
while
this,
since I've seen it.
and I love Sam Elliott.
Oh, dude, it's a great movie. It's an incredible movie. The
Well, y'all
title,
also told me to watch Sasquatch Sunset, and then I'm watching that with my wife,
yeah.
and I'm like, what in the world?
You guys,
It's a good movie.
yeah, it's a great movie.
And
It's a family
it was
movie.
entertaining.
It's a family movie.
Lord.
Sasquatch Sunset, another credible movie. Credible movie to add to the Sasquatch researcher handbook there. Movie. I laughed so hard and then also was like very like, oh no moments in that.
I did like how much they, included the wood knocks and everything else that they had, the actual
Rock
recordings.
clacks.
Yeah.
The rock clacker.
And the music was actually great.
Mm.
Soundtrack was good.
Is it Jesse Eisenberg was one of the Sasquatch?
Elvis Presley's granddaughter was the female Sasquatch.
Yeah, it was the mama squatch.
That's what sold me.
Did Elvis have a Sasquatch sighting? He's down in Tennessee. Come on.
He had a UFO sighting.
He did, didn't he?
He did.
Huh.
You know who I would love to find out, like from Tennessee, that supposedly is huge into Bigfoot, is Megan Fox, the actress.
Yeah.
She's made comments that make it sound like a family member maybe or something has had an encounter.
Has anyone like asked her about it? Has anyone ever like been like, "What do you think about Bigfoot?" She's probably waiting for somebody to ask her that. Like any Bigfoot fanatic. Please ask me about Bigfoot.
You said Deacon Frost. He as well. What's that actor's name?
Yeah. Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif's really big into. He lives in Tennessee and he's really big into Bigfoot too.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a sculpture of Bigfoot like down near Franklin on his property.
It's funny how many people will, once they realize like you're into Sasquatch and like the whole thing, that they'll be like, "Hey man, hey, I really like Bigfoot too." You got any stories?
What is her name? Oh, the actress. She used to be married to Tom Cruise. Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman and her husband have Sasquatch activity on their property.
Where do they live?
Literally, I know this because I had to go out to a field investigation to a property that's 3 doors down from their property in Franklin, Tennessee, in Leapers Fork.
Oh wow!
And the whole wood tract basically goes to the back of their property. So I don't know if they know that they've got Sasquatch on their property, but they got Sasquatch on their property.
That's amazing. Nicole Kidman dealing with Bigfoot in the backyard. That tickles me pink.
I can remember her husband's name. He's a music star, country music star.
Oh, I forget. Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't know it. Not country. But they all live in Franklin.
Let's bring it back around. Let's bring it back around to archaeology. Any more?
That's mainly like the site that we years ago
around at.
Yes. Now the state does own it, so we don't have as much access as we did. The last time we actually did just try to go up there.
They were pretty quick.
Do what?
They were pretty quick to go come get you guys, right?
Yeah, we parked actually like it was a shortcut pretty much. Like it's always locked and closed, and it was private property for a long time, so we didn't ever take that way. We would actually take the long way, the long trail to get there. That's why it would take us almost a full day to go to these sites. But now that the state bought it, we're like, okay, well, we're just going to take the shortcut. This is it's not private property anymore. But they of course
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have no trespassing signs, but
I
We
didn't
just
see it.
parked right there and was, like, oh, it's the state property. We're going with Darby and everything.
Yeah.
We parked in front of the cameras. And
Yeah,
so,
we weren't trying to hide anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what we told them, is because he was like, guys, you just, cross the no trespassing sign. It's like, well, we wasn't trying to, creep through here or anything. Like, we wanted you to know we was here. We have talked to the state archaeologists. We went to like conferences in Nashville to talk to the state archaeologists when we found out that the state bought it. Because Darby wanted to be like, hey, like, I want to get with you guys to talk about what, I
What's
was
the plan?
researching back in the 90s. So for the most part, this has all been, all in connection with the state. They just didn't know we were going up there that day. But yeah, so like I said, he told us, we had a long conversation after he was like, hey guys, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to leave. But we talked probably an hour after, and
Yeah, he was
I mean,
nice. He was really nice.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
cool. But he was telling us, their intentions are at the moment to have almost like a walking park up there. They don't want you to be able to drive up there. They're trying to, not have a bunch of infrastructure up there or anything. Like, they want it almost like walking trails. But at the moment, I mean, they're getting a lot of looters going up there. So that's why we're even trying to be
Gotcha.
careful not to, tell exactly where it is, because I mean, people are already going up there right now and stealing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
that's why
I didn't realize people were looting, and the guy said that there was already looters they were having to deal with.
Dang.
yeah, that's why he asked me not to film anything up there when, because we took the drone and everything. So yeah.
Oops, sorry, blowing up the spot.
Well, it was years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything that day, because as soon as we got up there, we started hearing sirens from his 4-wheeler. So I was like, okay.
Like, they got us. They got
Yeah,
us.
we literally got to the map stone, and just was like, oh, okay, so showing the guys. There was a guy that was with us that never seen it before, so he's showing it to him, and that was when he was like on the horn.
Dang. So now that they have those sites, are there any other sites that we know of?
There's that old stone fort that's up on the Boy Scout campsite that we got kicked off of too.
Yeah.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you guys, you went up there to be like, oh, we're looking at the site for an event, but then like
Yeah.
you guys just went out there to look, right?
Yeah.
You didn't find anything though, right?
We found where it was. Yeah.
Oh, you found it.
Yep.
What
Pretty
was
sure we did. Yeah.
what it looked like?
Looked like a big flat, risen area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
so
and
what
then
was,
the guy,
yeah, tell the
we got kicked off of there as well. And then so we was talking to Darby about it again, our archaeologist friend. And so he goes up there and he actually starts talking to the guy, and kind of more formally has a conversation with him. And the guy just starts saying like, oh, that was an old horse barn, like, blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah, why
I
did he get
don't
mad
feel-
at you?
yeah. And again, it's its location too. I mean, they're always in the middle of like a peninsula. I mean, there's features and there's kind of marks that you can kind of tell, like, okay, well, they would have built something here. I mean, it's the same thing with Old Stone Fort. I
Yeah,
mean,
it makes sense.
it was right in between these two rivers, which was like sacred places again to these Native Americans that were building that stuff back then. That's
Yeah.
where they would put these mounds. And I mean, there's other places that we have tried to go to too, which some of them you can only get to by boat, but there's other places that we have heard of that would have more of this type of stuff. It's just, I mean, it's hard to get to these places.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things about the mountainside on Cardwell specifically is that it's up on the mountain. Like they apparently there's not any other mountainsides to my knowledge that's up on top of a mountain.
Except
Like
for this one,
they leveled this entire 34-acre area, and then built the mounds and all the mountainside up there. It's wild, like how they managed to level it like that.
yeah. I remember when we did the hike up there, there was just certain areas we walked through, and you pointed out, you're like, look how flat this area is. Like, this is just like, it looked like it was terraced. It looked like it was terraformed for housing or something like that, or whatever, to be used for structures to be put there. And then, yeah, seeing the effigy at the top, the monolith at the top. And now seeing it, the drone footage of it now, it's like, that is, from like the distance, getting a pullback from it, from that angle, I was like, that's a ritual site. That looks like a ritual, like someone holding out like an offering, like its hands, like right.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Or even how like Buddha sits and it has like the his lap.
I believe Darby too was going to talk to a geologist about seeing, kind of the formation of the rock, just to clarify that these things were actually stacked and that it wasn't just, erosion or something.
Yeah, it broke off or something. That would be nice to confirm. As we're sitting here being like, look at these stacked stones.
Yeah.
So, Randy, you want to, as we're wrapping this up, let's get into the report that you got in this week.
It was shared with me. Yeah. It was bad. I'm not gonna say where because I don't want to. I don't got permission to share that.
No, just tell us what the report is. About.
Apparently, some people saw a pale walker, as they call it, or a rake, as some other people call it, here in Tennessee. 2 witnesses saw it in an area. It was described to me, the way it was described to me was reminiscent of here in town, just outside of our town. Back in August, we were told about a gentleman who worked for the electric company who saw a pale walker / rake while up in a electric lineman truck.
So a cherry picker?
Like a cherry picker. And saw this thing crawl across a hill on its arms and legs. And it messed up this guy enough that he went to therapy for it. And that gentleman ended up, from what we were told, quitting his job because people were making fun of him at his job when he shared what was going on, what he saw.
Dang. He must have had a good sight on that to fuck him up like that.
So the ladies, the ladies said that it really messed him up.
Dang. He didn't like attack him. He just saw it, right? It didn't.
He just saw it. My understanding, he just saw it. But seeing like this, like long-legged, long-armed, naked, pale, bald thing crawling across the hill, when there ain't supposed to be something like that.
Now, the report that came in, the 2 people that saw it, what they did, is there more to like where they like what happened? Did they see it crossing a road? Were they out in the woods? Were they?
It was in an area not too far from an elementary school, from what I was told.
Oh,
which makes it even worse and creepier. Yeah.
And you said that is the one that happened here locally. That's not the one you got reported to this week, right?
The one I got reported to you this week is farther out west.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to say where it is because I don't have the permission to share that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so, which leads me to, if you have any reports or stories or something you'd like to share with us or questions for us, at the end of this, you'll see our email address. Please email us if you'd like us to talk about something or answer some questions or a discussion point. Please send them in. Love to hear them. Love to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got any cool archaeology sites.
No, seriously, yeah. If you've come across something and you're like, I don't know what it is, send it our
post
way.
in the comments. Post in the comments section about it.
Yeah, and let us know. We'll talk about it. We'll see if it connects to something maybe we've heard of. And
I know during the 1930s there was a ton of archaeology was done in this state because the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, was going to flood a lot of different areas, and there was mound sites that were excavated. There's one area here in Tennessee that's talked about a lot that they said it looked like an Egyptian tomb or an Egyptian temple. That there's misconception with that. I've talked to an archaeologist that actually knows about that site, and it was reminiscent of kind of like the structure of those old tombs that they used to do. It wasn't really like one, like they'd found an Egyptian tomb or an Egyptian temple. It was just constructed similarly.
Yeah.
But that's underwater now?
It's underwater now, yes. Most of that stuff's all underwater now because the TVA flooded it all.
Why?
For dams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of our power around here is all hydroelectric.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There is a mound site in Center Hill Lake that's on one of the islands out there, but the state doesn't tell anybody about it because they want people, to leave it alone. But that's like one of the few places that didn't get flooded is that mound site.
Do they have any plans to do anything with it, or?
My understanding is they're trying to get most of these mound sites like under state ownership, so they can do archaeological.
Do we have any plans, Randy?
Yeah, we haven't got kicked off the island yet.
That's true.
I can't get Randy in a kayak.
You can get
which I think this one specifically, it would be a long trek. Look, we need a boat for that.
Yeah, it's out there.
Paddling out there. You gotta know somebody with a boat. Somebody's gotta have a boat, a little pontoon boat.
I don't know anybody with a boat.
I'm working on it.
You working on it? I know you know somebody with a boat.
Yeah, it's cold right now. Like it was 20 degrees this morning.
You don't want to go out now. It's too cold. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so for real, this is a conversation me and Randy always have. Like, we've got to hit it right at that perfect spot where it's like, it's frosted once, the snakes are going in, but you're not gonna, freeze if you're going out or get just.
Oh, if we're going to Davies Island, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah. You want to mention that?
Well, I mean, Davies Island, you can go out there and hike and camp out there, so it's also rattlesnake infested. In case people don't know that.
Hypothermia. That was the word I was looking for. Hypothermia.
So we've always wanted to go out there. Davies Island has reports of logs and stuff being thrown at people while in boats, and we've always wanted to go out there because we think there's a resident family of Sasquatch that live out there. But Houston won't go out there during the summer because of the snakes.
I mean, I get that. That's fair.
And I don't want to go out there during the cold ass winter because I hate cold. And I can't swim worth a damn. So
yeah, didn't we find out? Was it UT Knoxville that drops their rattlesnakes there?
That's where they do their rattlesnake research. Is on that island. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just made it worse in my head, and I thought that's where they it was like a sanctuary for these things.
They don't drop them off, but that's where they do their research. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, we'll have to plan that trip.
But yeah, that's all on the to-do list.
Dang. Well, I think that's it for this episode, fellas. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back with you guys next week or on the next episode. Should be next week, right?
Yep, next week.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.
Take care.